Frontier is a podcast that talks about Web3. We discuss Web3, we talk about it, we look at what is happening in Web3 in Africa, we look at it from the simplest narratives, the simplest terms. It's not going to be a hickey-packy conversation. We just common guys discussing Web3, money, and where it's going in Africa. So my name is Dennis. I'm the host. I'm also a Web3 product manager and product operator. I've spent the last couple of years of my career building crypto companies and fintech startups here in Africa. I have here with me my colleagues and friend, Jeffrey. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, Dennis. Thank you very much for having me on the podcast. My name is Jeffrey. I work as a blockchain engineer with companies to build decentralized applications, applications that make use of blockchain technology and help the masses make use of this technology. So yeah,
Yeah,
thanks again
sure,
for
man.
having me.
Yeah, welcome, bro. Anytime. Isaac, can you please introduce yourself?
Hey guys, good evening. It's evening on my end here. My name is Isaac Filitini. I've been working as an analyst at Corridor for a while now, and I've really dived into Web3 for a while, and I'm really excited to be here to talk about Web3 and Web3 in Africa.
Yeah, Web3 in Africa and what it has, right? Because in this
Yeah.
episode, it's actually our first episode, right? I'm very much excited about this. I don't know if you guys are pumped and excited about it. Jeff, I don't know about what do you think about the podcast? Like, where do you think this is going to take us? Because for me, it's a journey of the unknown. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely a journey. It's definitely a journey. I'm definitely pumped. I feel like what we are diving into here is definitely something that a lot of people need. A lot of people need information about this, and yeah, we're
Yeah.
just here to help the people. So I'm really excited.
Yeah,
Honestly,
Isaac.
because you will notice that most of the things you come three are always on Twitter. They write some very lengthy threads about Web3, and they begin to talk about things that it's almost not even feasible in our kind of in kind of with the kind of culture we have here in Africa. It almost does not make any sense if you come to think of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
standing
sure.
on that not making any sense, right? Because that is
Yeah.
actually what is driving our first topic. The Web3 narrative in Africa is not African. So this is actually
So
a conversation that actually started from a WhatsApp call where we had last week. So I was speaking with Isaac in the morning. So we are discussing Web3, talking about the impact, talking about how people or users are actually adopting this technology in Africa. And one thing that actually occurred to us is that the whole ownership, take the money out of the government hand, destroy the bankers, and take over the world narrative is not really something that is African when it comes to Web3, right? We have our own set of problems, we have our own set of use case, we have our own set of
mhm.
mentality, and every great technology at the end of the day bows at the altar or at the clemency of culture, because a culture of a society determines how it adopts any technology. Guess the internet. When the internet came to Africa, most of the West, their first acceptance to internet was through broadband, desktop, and laptop. But when it came to internet, it bowed to the table of mobile. From there, mobile money,
Yeah.
you have so many M-Pesa and the rest of them. So we believe, I don't know, maybe you share your view, Jeffrey, or anybody that wants to care to jump in. Like, what is actually the real Web3 narrative in Africa? Jeffrey, I think this actually bounds to you as a blockchain developer. You've been building projects. You definitely understand the pain point from the builder's standpoint. What do you think is the real Web3 narrative in Africa?
Okay, yeah. So I feel like a lot of Nigerians or Africans in general, a lot of people don't really know what exactly Web3 is. A lot of people see
Okay.
Web3 as just cryptocurrencies, right? They just feel like a lot of people see Web3 and blockchain technology as just cryptocurrencies, and a lot of people, especially Africans, they see it as a way of an investment, kind of like stocks. So you see people buying crypto when it's low, selling when it's high. It's almost like a different kind. It's almost like a business, but that isn't kind of like what Web3 is all about. That isn't like the only use case of Web3. Web3 is in general like this, like a new phase of the internet, which involves multiple things. It involves blockchain technology, it involves decentralization, it involves um with use of blockchain technology, it involves removing the middlemen and kind of like a power to the people kind of thing. With use of it, allowing users to build applications that are decentralized, allowing people to have more access to their data because major corporations like Facebook, Google, they take users' data and they sell it to their highest bidder. So this is kind of like so Web3 is kind of like a phase to kind of like remove that. For example, a lot of people like you might search up like on Google, let's say you search up like a PS5 or a device. Yeah, on a different website and you see ads pertaining to what you searched about like 2 days ago or an hour ago sometimes. So that's because like your data or people's data are always taken. So yeah, Web3 is basically solving that problem and multiple other problems. But Africans don't really see it that way. Africans usually see it as like a sort of investment scheme. So you see people buying when it's buying crypto. Because I feel like crypto is like the major starting point for anybody to get into Web3, especially in Africa, because Nigerians have one of the highest amounts of crypto in the world. Like we keep one of the highest amounts of crypto in the world, and most of that is basically just most of people just use it as like an investment. So they buy Bitcoin when it's low, sell it when it's high. So yeah, I feel like that's one of the easiest ways that's like one of the only ways that Africans see cryptocurrencies,
Yeah,
and that's
will you not say that the narrative like around the crypto in Africa, the reason why Isaac, I think this will actually come to you directly. But looking at what Jeffrey said, power to the people, I actually believe in that. But when he talks about Africans see crypto as an investment scheme, which is the truth, that Africa are now exploring beyond buying and selling of cryptocurrency, which is also part of the conversation. But to you, what do you actually think, right? He has spoken from a builder's perspective, what on the street perspective, like where do you think this narrative actually applies? Is it just investment, or buy and sell? Like, are there other real narrative that you believe that you are saying, or people are not yet are saying that you might just want to share with everybody? Yeah, right. So I just, Jeffrey, I think let's come back to you, right? Let's just come back to you a little bit on this, right? Because I just feel like the Web3 conversation in Africa, which is actually the truth, but on a very micro level, right? I think what we are seeing or what we're witnessing is just like the next phase of the internet, right? We are
for sure.
witnessing money being redefined. We are witnessing what's it called? We are witnessing ownership being redefined. But I always have this core belief that we Africans actually have a narrative to Web3, which is actually around trust, which is actually something that is similar to what you have in the West. But when you look at what we have here in Africa, we have broken financial institutions, government that you don't trust, police that you don't trust, military that you don't really trust, corruption fighting institutions that you don't really trust, central bankers that you don't really trust that just print money always, which is kind of like a conversation for everybody across the board globally. But I believe that Web3 as an African narrative is actually trying not to destabilize the money regimes of the world, because by default the money regimes in Africa are kind of like destabilized. Because what do you
For
say
sure.
about a currency? I don't know what you think about it. Like a currency that have devalued by almost 54%, because since our last president was in office, now the Nigerian president, since he's been in office and left, the Nigerian currency devalued by. Well, what do you think actually is the narrative on that perspective? Like the currency has already been destabilized, and like Web3 is not here to fight; it's just here to make it better. Like unlike in the West where it's fighting. Like, what do you think about it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually very true. Compared to the West, where a lot of people are kind of like fighting, a lot of the big players there, they're trying to fight Web3. But over here, it's in it, because like I said, exactly like in Nigeria and in Africa, we said something about the currency devaluing, which is 100%. A lot of a lot of Nigerians use blockchain technology and Web3 as a way to save and kind of like to retain the value of their money. So a lot of people have like Binance accounts, or they save with stable coins. So it is also like a use case. So and Web3 is usually just like the financial side, the cryptocurrency part that a lot of Africans use. And yeah, we really embrace it. We don't really see it as we don't really see it like as a competition to our regular currency. We see, kind of like see it as a
Yeah,
salvation. We see it like
as
our
an
salvation,
alternative,
basically.
like
Yeah,
as an alternative, like because the reason why I got into crypto, right, for me is like the reason why I strongly believe about this technology is not just because of anything, but I just believe that the power for the people to have a choice, right? Over the years, money has never had competition. Maybe
for
probably
sure.
between gold, money as something has never had competition. It had just been either money or not money, right? But now we have that great competition where the government-backed fiat are competing against private money, which is cryptocurrency, and trying to seek legitimacy and trying to seek ultrasoundness, like what we say in the Ethereum community. Say Ethereum is ultrasound money, right? So like
Yeah,
that conversation around ultrasound money and not ultrasound money is actually what is actually driving the background narrative of what is actually happening in Africa. Because if you have an ultrasound money that is digital, portable, and you can move the value across the internet, that means cross-border remittances is fast. And if you have a hard money like Bitcoin, that means that people can actually hedge against inflation, right? They can
for
actually
sure.
hedge against bad monetary policies. They can actually solve some major complex problems. Because for me, personally, like I'm putting it out there and sharing it to the world, what I really believe about crypto and Web3 in Africa is beyond money. I think it beckons on trust as a base for building this technology. Because I don't know, I think we'll come back to this, right? I don't
For
know.
sure.
Yeah,
I
like
think
I would like to add something to what you were saying. Because you've talked about how you see Web3 in Africa and how we should go about it. And then I would like to add something. So I would also like to add something to what Jeffrey said. You talked about how Nigerians have they hold a lot of cryptocurrencies, or they make use of it as a means to save. And
Yeah,
there's one other thing you mentioned. You mentioned so many use cases of how Africans can make use of cryptocurrency or blockchain in general. And then because most of the adoption they always talk about is how Nigerians have a lot of cryptocurrency, Nigerians have a lot of Bitcoin, or they are holding a lot of stable coins. But how are we really contributing to Web3? Are we able to build? What are we building? How are we contributing? How exactly are we contributing to the Web3 space? Is it even easy for us to build? It's quite complicated. We were talking about something. Earlier. I'm sure we've all had to go about using some basic transactions, either via Ethereum or Arbitrum or some other blockchains, and then you see some very crazy amount numbers, or very complicated English that you probably some a layman will definitely not understand. Because, for instance,
yeah.
if you go to the bank, and you pick a teller and you want to make a payment for a school fee, or
you
or
just you
for
just
house
right.
rent,
You just right.
you just write on the teller this, give it
Yeah,
to
yeah.
them, or even you pick up your phone and then immediately you've made your transaction. But you want to pay for a very little thing via Ethereum. They will charge you for what? They'll write a certain gas fee, or they'll tell you to go and select change the gas fee from this to this, or set this so that the gas fee is not going to be too expensive. See, all of these things is going to restrict adoption. We talk about this, people will continue using it for only saving, putting their money in USDT, because it's not easy for us to do those things that will allow us to achieve that stage that Web3 is supposed to get to in Africa. You get what I'm trying to say about? You get what I'm trying to say?
Like
So
that boring stage where I
yeah,
like to call it the boring stage where, like, Jeffrey, like,
I guess we could call
take
it
for
that.
example, where it's boring doing bank transfer. It's no longer a big deal or a big miracle to
Mm-hmm.
you that you're doing bank transfer. But for example, if somebody uses Ethereum to pay somebody in Uganda, the whole Twitter is going to hear about it. Oh, he's paying with
Uh-huh.
crypto. Oh, he's paying with crypto. Why do we need to say you are paying with crypto? Like, can it just be I just paid? Like, I think we are going to get to adoption where or the narrative is going to balance out where more Africans are building, because account abstraction, MPC, smart contract, layer one, layer two, all these things are universal technologies used by developers across the world. And I can tell you, and I will be very frank with you, though they are open source, I believe so many African developers are not really contributing to that building blocks. Because I asked somebody this question: why do you think Google hires from all over the world? It was like, because they're hiring. I don't know. Why do you think they have people from almost every country working with them? They say, maybe they're looking for talent. I say, no. The reason why is because Google is building a universal product. And I believe they take into account cultures and behaviors of people when designing and building products. For me, I think that is one thing that Web3 is not actually acknowledging, because NFT does not solve any fucking problem for anybody in Africa. Let me be very honest with you.
For
It solves on a very large scale, maybe things of like, for now, on a very basic use case. We are so thank you. We are so distracted because it's going to be very hard for you to go to the museum art gallery here in Lagos and start pitching them. We've tried it, right? With Ava's Citizen Finance. We are building an NFT project. We went to the gallery here in Lagos to talk to them about NFTs and AR and VR. They didn't listen to us. I'm not saying it doesn't have a future. It has a future, but just like African governments are now too busy discussing other things that is not crypto and the rest of them, I think we have real problem. Like, sorry, I'm taking too long. I'm speaking too much.
Yeah.
No, sure.
It takes you time to send money from Namibia to South Africa. It costs you up to, it says yesterday I'm sending $200. It's going to cost you around $10 to $20. Let me not exaggerate. Do you know the distance between Namibia and South Africa? It's not even far. It's not far. 5 hours, you have gotten there. Like, with all the bombshell, tsunami explosion of Web3 in Africa and the rest of that, why have these problems not been solved? I don't know if anybody here can answer that question.
Okay, so I just want to go into what's a little bit of what Isaac said, and also I'll answer what you said. So I feel like the use cases for Web3 in Africa are totally different from use case with the rest of the world.
It's
true.
Yeah, that's true, because outside, people are usually talking about decentralization, data privacy, that sort of thing. That's kind of like the use cases that a lot of people are using. But over here, I feel like one of the major use cases for like not even for transaction, a lot of people just use it to save, to protect themselves from inflation. So NFTs are a very big deal over there, but over here they're just like hype. Nobody really uses them or has use cases for them. So and I feel like that's like the big divide for developers in Africa. A lot of African developers, like blockchain developers or blockchain engineers, skills, but they don't know exactly what to build for Africa, because the African market is totally different, and the African mindset too is totally different. A lot of like the average Nigerian or African, the average Nigerian or African, they don't really care about if you use my data. As long as it doesn't affect me, I'm okay. It's all good. You get,
as long as the money in their bank account is secure, boy, you're talking your.
You get exactly. So it's like, as long as they're not debiting me, I'm okay.
Exactly.
And like, it's not bad to feel that way. It's not bad to feel that way. That's just how we are. But like, what the use cases that pertain to us are the way it saves people from inflation, basically. Because the average African or Nigerian man wants to protect himself, wants to protect his money, he wants to see how we can make more money. So that is kind of like that's kind of like the big divide. I feel like that's kind of like one of the reasons why we have different use cases. Like we don't really have a lot of use cases that are like visible to the eye for like we don't really have a lot of big projects pertaining to African problems. Then and also about the gas fees. Gas fees in blockchain right now, because blockchain is still at its early adoption stage. It's really at the very early stage. So there's still a lot of hurdles we need to climb. From transactions per second, from gas fees, a lot of things, but definitely projects are still but we already currently have a lot of active projects solving those problems. So one by one, step by step, like Ethereum, for example, Ethereum 2.0 came out last year, which solved a lot of problems about it reduced the gas fees. They are still relatively high, but it reduces them. We still have a lot of roll-up projects. A lot of roll-up projects are trying to reduce gas fees on different multiple chains. So yeah, definitely the technology still has a lot of things to do before it can be accepted by a lot of people. Might do transactions on something like Ethereum, and the gas fees can be as high as what you are sending. So like there's still a lot of yeah, so like there's still a lot of things to climb, but yeah, we'll definitely get there. We'll definitely get there.
Isaac, I don't know. Maybe you have the 2 coins you want to add.
I think all I want to say is I really love the what he said about our culture in Africa. Because I think people don't say it a lot. They always like to talk about adoption in Africa, and they forget to mention that most of what is driving the average African man is they want to make they want to make more money,
Sure.
and that is what most people they don't always want to. I don't know why they don't like to mention that. What they always mention about is people some people are making use of it to make payments. Yeah, some people are making use of it. Those people are using it to make payments. Most of them is because why they have it is because they were trying to make more money for it, or preserve the value of their money, because they don't want it to lose value. Honestly,
Okay.
because so until we are, like you said, we are still growing. It's still growing until we get to that stage where it's no longer too difficult for people, because it's hard to even have some of these conversations with one person, because there are too many complicated things you need to explain this, you need to explain this before you to understand everything
sure.
we are trying to say about it's because it's about money. It is about, okay, we are moving from fiat. We want to move from fiat to digital money. It should not be too much abstraction. It should not be too difficult to understand what digital money is all about, or why you are making use of this tool or whatever to do what you want.
Yeah, I believe you, man. I trust you 100%. I think
Yeah.
both of you have made a very solid arguments and points, because for me, to top it off, right, what I actually believe the Web3 narrative in Africa is trust.
Yeah.
For me, right, I don't know about any other person, but for me, the Web3 narrative in Africa is trust, because as Jeffrey mentioned, the person is trying to save himself from inflation. The person no longer trusts the government. He now trusts the USD to save him from inflation.
Yeah.
The person no longer trusts the banking system. He now trusts the blockchain. So I think the trust is the native currency of Africans on the blockchain. And developers, builders, founders, VCs, investors, operators looking at Africa from the lens of Web3 should, because there is so much culture in Africa. Africa is very diverse. I love Africa so much. Culture across board, across the continent, from the west to the south to the east to the north. One thing that actually unites Africa is that trust idea. Like, Africans love the middleman, no matter how you want to say it. We love the middleman business. But at the end of the day, we are seeing this technology as eliminating that middleman. I think for me, where I will start getting excited about Web3 is when it comes to start solving lending. You see credits. When it starts to start solving credits, when it starts to solving insurance. Now let me give you an example of one of the biggest African narrative on Web3 that has not been discussed. My grandmother was a school principal before she died. So she was being paid pension I know all those money that they used to pay them, gratitude and the whatever. So when she was what's it called? When she was, every time they would remove pension from her money, she started teaching the year 1970 something. That's when she started teaching. She retired 1970 something, 1980 something. I can't remember. She retired 2008. When she was school principal, then naira to dollar was relatively low. I think it was around 100 naira or 50 naira. I can't remember, right? Then, before she retired, Naira to dollar was around 300 or 150 or something like that. But it was kind of like a little high to what she was earning then. So my point being that many Africans that are paying insurance, we have millions of money in insurance in Africa. In Nigeria, for example, every day their money is devaluing. Imagine where you've worked for 50 years of your life and it gets to the point where you now need to cash out your insurance, your what's it called? Your retirement fund.
Yep.
It turns out that your retirement money that you need to cash out that was supposed to be around 1 million naira is now 500,000 because of the currency devaluation. That is not being talked about. Okay, how are we going to use this technology to solve pensions? Because that is where we start driving societal change, like real value, real
like
core
real change.
use case. I'm serious, right? Like that is where you start solving this problem deep bottom. Somebody said something, Tori Samples or something, I can't remember her name. She worked at Stella Foundation. I met her in Selo Camp in 2020. We competed together at the Selo Camp. She said something, savings is the basis of every society. A society that saves lives well. And Africa have bad saving culture. We have bad saving culture, not because Africans don't like to save, I would say. I think that culture was something because we don't trust the institutions we are saving the money with. Okay, you don't want to keep the money in your house because somebody might want to come and steal it. You don't want to keep it in the bank because you don't even know what the bank are going to do with your money. Maybe one day they'll just fold because we have all this banking crisis that happen. And then plus this inflation holds it. So I think the diverting towards savings with crypto in Africa is natural. And I think more use cases should be built around that. If somebody have a savings account and checking from there, they can perform transactions and do so many other things, right? So for me, I think it all comes down to trust, right? I think that's my closing thoughts around, because I'm going to round up. I will circle it back and talk about how compliance and regulation is shaking up. But maybe I'll roll it back to the guys again. Isaac, what are your closing thoughts? Or Jeffrey, anybody can go first. Like, what are your closing thoughts? Like, what are you saying to the builders out there? What are you saying to the investors out there saying we're looking at Web3 in Africa? Like, what do you have to like contribute? Like, what are your closing thoughts?
For me, I think Isaac, go first.
Oh,
Isaac,
right.
go. Isaac can go first.
So this will be my closing thoughts for it. So I think one thing that is very important for we to be able to adopt in Africa is we need to be able to deliver benefits without having to go through issues. Like we should so that we don't longer, like you said, so that we begin to have that trust. We begin to have that trust. And then we should not be needing to go through the Fort Knox kind of setting up kind of security. We should not be needing to store our seed phrase inside the vault and carry the vault and go and bury the vault inside cave. Who is
doing that right now? They're just writing it down in a piece of paper. I think that in a piece of paper now. Nobody's doing that yet.
We need that ease. We need that ease. It will come. And then when it becomes very easy for everybody to
yeah, that makes sense. Jeffrey, over to you.
Okay, I feel like for me, one of the major reasons why we do not have a lot of active use cases being built for Africa is because not a lot of people know about the technology. Then also people that know about the technology, they are not building. For example, not a lot of people, like on Twitter, on Africa in Nigeria, people that don't really know a lot about the technology, you see them posting stuff on Twitter are misleading other people. Well, but the people that do know, a lot of times they're just silent, like they don't really spread the knowledge. Exactly. So I feel like we need to have a
Very
change of that. We need to have more people who know about technology, talk actively about it, spread the information, spread the gospel of Web3. Then for builders to them automatically, I feel like when people know exactly what technology does, what the potential it has, then automatically we're going to have founders coming, then more engineers will come, then more use cases will be built. Because there's so
Yeah.
much potential, there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of use cases. We just need the education of a lot of people, basically.
Yeah. I would say for Web3 in Africa, we have not even woken up yet. I think
At all.
we are still stretching. We are still stretching, early morning stretching. Where are we going to? I think there is so much because I think conversations like this actually matters, right? Because
It does.
this actually shapes
It
up the
does.
narrative. This actually gives you word on the street view of Web3. Forget about polished interviews, polished press release, and the rest of that. We are building on the street, and we are coming here and we are giving you word on the street. What is happening in Africa when it comes to Web3? How do people understand this thing? I'll be very frank with you. If I go down right now in my estate and speak to 5 people, nobody gives a shit about Web3.
At all.
100%. And if we really want to solve a problem and grow adoption in Web3 in Africa, we have to make it easy, extremely easy, starting from the wallet standpoint for people to use crypto. I was telling somebody, why do they have to call it node? What do you mean? Why do Ethereum have to call it node? Why not call it server? Why do you have to call it node? It's just a server. Call it server, not node. Why must it be wallet? Can you not call it account? Can we not just call it in open finance? Must we call it Web3 blockchain? Can it just be open finance?
They like the fancy words. They like the fancy words.
That can be easy for anybody to understand. And that rides into the compliance and regulatory part. I think that's what we'll talk about later, because it's a very big conversation. Because regulators, Web3 in Africa, they are very scared. Not because of the technology is scared, but because the way the narrative has been constructed, like destroy them all.
They make it seem like the government wants to do away with the government.
Let me give you this example. I think it's been my closing thought. Okay. We went to Zenith Bank to pitch about Web3, talk to the CEOs of banks about Web3. As you can think, I've given you this narrative before. And then we told them, oh, Web3 is a Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin. The future of money is decentralized, is lives on the internet. It doesn't allow anybody to control the money. The user controls the money directly. A lot of Africans have this money, have this Bitcoin already. Zenith Bank, put this in your app so people can be buying Bitcoin, decentralized. Sovereign money is the future of the internet, money of the future, money of freedom. Zenith Bank CEO will look at you and say, wow. You just call central bank chairman and say, please, can you introduce new regulations, please? These people want to take my bank away from me. But if you go and meet him and say, CEO, for the last 30 years, people have been the custodian of money in Africa. He say, yes, true. People have safeguarded African money, drive business and economy. He say, yes. And what you people are focused on is building the future and making sure that your business continues to exist. He say, yes. Okay, look at Bitcoin. A lot of Africans are holding cryptocurrency. Would it not make sense for Zenith Bank to introduce a custody solution in their app to make it easy for you people to keep up the good work of being a custodian of finance and money in the society? You're going to make a lot of money for this. It's open, it's decentralized. You have an infrastructure that you can build and allow people to be able to control their own money, and you can also make your own revenue from it. Zenith Bank CEO will look at you and say, I just pick up the phone and call MFLA, please remove all the regulations I told you earlier on. I think I can make money from this. That is the conversation that business people, board members in Africa are not yet having. I think it's less for us. I was in a Ugandan Twitter space recently, and somebody said something. It's less for us that understand this technology to explain it to those that don't understand it. And I think that's what this podcast is all about. And I am very glad it's our first episode, and from what I can see, I can see the fire, I can see the understanding, I can see the craziness, the rant spirit is still in you, Isaac. Isaac, that rant spirit, you need to remove it from you, right? So no, I think this is I think we bring it to a close. I think the next time we come, we have more topics. We're going to be here twice a month to share the story of Web3 in Africa. I think it's the beginning of an amazing journey. Let's see what it unlocks. Once again, I'm Dennis, and this is The Frontier. Have a nice day, guys. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Have a very great day. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys. Yeah.
Bye.